Hello and welcome back to the Red Side Podcast. I'm Jason and I'm joined with my co-host.
I am Shyam.
And today we bring to you episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about the new title race that Liverpool has finally entered in. We've got the relegation race and we've got, of course, match week predictions. Let's start off with the title race. You're a bit of a Liverpool fan yourself. What have you seen recently from your team?
First off, I'm not gonna agree with the just entered the title race. I'm gonna say that we've been in it this whole time. We've always known that we could catch those oil frauds, but the start to 2022 by Liverpool's been absolutely insane. Undefeated so far, 2 draws, I think 9 wins, scoring 36 goals in 2022 so far. All 3 of the front 3 are in the top 3 Prem goal scorers of the season so far. Defensive record's been good, 7 clean sheets in 2022. Like, the stats are there. We've been keeping the pressure on City, and I think eventually not having a striker is going to catch up to them. Like, I know that their forwards, that false 9, whoever it is, Bernardo, Foden, they've been doing bits, but I think it's going to catch them. You need someone like Diogo up top, properly chase that title.
I mean, definitely. I think you've definitely seen it a lot recently because I think beginning of the year they were getting away with it, but recently they're dipping form. It's just they seem that they just can't score enough. And, I mean, maybe the 5 goals against Sporting in the Champions League will hopefully get them back into some sort of good Premier League form. But, I mean, they've not had good results recently. I mean, they lost to Spurs. They drew to Southampton, right?
They did, yeah.
I mean, I think you could almost credit, it's been less of Liverpool being great. Because I think Liverpool have been like this the whole season. It's just, they've slightly picked it now. But City, just to their standards, have been abysmal recently. I mean, because I think we were saying probably 2 months ago, most people would have said it's a one-horse race. But now City have just slowed down so much that this was the only scenario in which another team could catch up.
Yeah. And I was saying even like offensively, City were starting to struggle, but like defensively in the last couple of weeks they've been not up to their standards. I mean, 3 against Spurs, conceding 1 against Southampton, 1 against Arsenal, 3 against Leicester. Like, that's not normal City numbers.
No, definitely not. I mean, and the thing is, the first game of the season as well, they did lose to Spurs.
Yeah.
So clearly Spurs have got them figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, they seemed, after Spurs, like, they had a response after that game it was just, the way they started the season, it was ridiculous. I mean, they looked unbeatable for like 4 straight months probably. From I would say September through December, they looked unstoppable. And I don't know if there's one thing you could point it to, but I would probably say lack of an actual striker is probably the main concern right now. And obviously they failed to get a proper signing in January, but surely there has to be more to that, which, I mean...
Yeah, there definitely does. And then of course, January, there was a chance for them to go out and get themselves a striker, and they signed Julian Alvarez, but they loaned him back to River Plate for whatever reason. I mean, there was no way he starts, but he could have made an impact, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
he's got a lot of talent.
I mean, he's 20.
Yeah.
Right? He's 20. So, I mean, he's probably not ready yet, especially considering he's from South America, so he's...
It's true. Not up to the physicality yet.
Yeah, because Europe is a lot different, but still, I mean, he probably could have made an impact as well. They have, I mean, Liam Delap is 18, 19 in the academy. He'd probably maybe make an impact, but I don't think they've really tried to implement a lot this year, except for that one. Who's that one youngster they have? Carson Palmer, whatever his name is. That's Cole Palmer, but he's more attacking mid. So
yeah,
they had their chance. They signed Julian Alvarez. They loaned him back out for whatever reason, and yeah.
And then of course there's the other side, Liverpool, who we went in and we brought in Luis Diaz, and I'm gonna sound biased, like a typical Liverpool fan doing the same thing we did with Thiago. But oh my God, I love watching this dude play. So forward, direct. I mean, he's got such a good finish on him. I mean, his dribbling 1v1 is supposed to be a strong suit. I've seen it been kind of bad the last couple of games, but I think he's going to find his rhythm. And he fits the team so well. Like, his chemistry with Robbo is already insane. We have so much depth up front. Like, I don't know if it would be too much of a stretch to say we're one of the most, if not the most, unplayable team in Europe right now. I don't know who could take us in this moment.
Maybe Bayern. But
I don't know. Bayern's been having some kind of shaky results.
A bit, yeah. PSG, same thing.
PSG's been good in Europe, awful at home. Yeah,
I think right now you guys are probably... I'd say so far this year, Liverpool have probably been the best team in Europe.
At this point right now, I don't know about the whole year. I think
No, I
City's
mean, like,
been whole year.
2022.
Oh yeah, 2022, sure.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's been a very strong 2 months. And I think Luis Diaz, because now that you've seen that Jota is capable of playing as a 9 and as a goal scorer, which obviously Firmino wasn't a goal scorer, and now that you have Jota who can't play that, it allows Mane and Salah to be playing all the time.
Yeah.
And at times, I think Mane hasn't been up to his normal standards. And now that Luis Diaz is there as a very capable backup, especially on the left,
I would go farther than backup.
Takes
yeah.
a lot of pressure off of Mane.
Mm-hmm.
Now that he knows that if he doesn't perform, that it's not necessarily going to be the end, because you guys didn't really have another good attacking option.
It was Takumi or Divock.
Yeah, which just wasn't enough. And then Luis Diaz is a great signing, because if you look at it just at face value, it's not a necessity of a signing. It's like they didn't really need to make that, but when you look into it deeper and look at how Mane has underperformed sometimes this season, he's third in the Premier now for goals. But still, I mean, to his standard, he hasn't. Especially at the beginning, he was very slow.
It was. I think it might be a little controversial of me to say, but I think AFCON was a huge blessing for us. Like, if we hadn't performed, it would have been disastrous, of course. Like, without Mane, Salah, and Keita, and even Joel Matip for a bit. But I think having Mane go and win it, and Salah go and lose it in the way that they did, each, Mane came back with a whole new fire. Since he's been back, he's been absolutely insane. And Salah's came back with something to prove, And so I think both of those were very necessary, and that's going to kind of fuel our push. And then I don't think Luis Diaz can settle for a place on the bench. I think we're going to have a constantly rotating front three out of the 5 very capable forwards that we have, who can now come in and completely confuse every opposition defense because they don't know what combination they're going to come up against, which I think is so, so powerful and something that we're definitely going to have to exploit if we're going to win this title. And speaking of Liverpool winning things, just kind of jumping off track a little bit, there is the Carabao Cup final this weekend.
Against?
Chelsea.
Chelsea have been... Oh, they've been so up and down recently.
They have. And they have now, I want to say, Kovacic and... God, I forget. They have two strong starters who are out with injury.
Chilwell. And Chilwell's out for the season as well. They don't have a left back right now.
They've got a weakened team. Obviously, Lukaku, we saw him get dropped.
Yeah.
Allegedly for personal reasons, but...
Yeah.
He's been dropped. And so, I think we have a great shot of winning that.
Oh, definitely. You should.
That would be the first silverware that kind of... I mean, I hope it doesn't take the wind out of our sails. Like, okay, we've won something. We don't have to go as hard as the league. I hope it's a little boost for the whole team.
Yeah, no, it'd definitely be a confidence booster, kind of like how you said AFCON was.
Yeah.
It was almost like a refresher for them, because they left and they came back and they just looked a completely different team, especially those two, Sadio and Mo. They came back and they've just looked completely different.
And, the danger that I'm worried about is a couple of years ago when we won the league, and we won it with a little time to spare. After we won the league, our form completely dropped off. We went and lost a game or two, and we hadn't done for months. And that's the kind of thing I'm slightly worried about, because this team, they work so hard, but once they win something, sometimes the foot can go off the gas. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Sort of speaking of foot off the gas, though, we can go into the relegation.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's really gotten interesting lately. I feel like you can make a case for anyone 14 and under to still be in it. 14th is Brentford, right?
Yeah, Brentford at 24.
I think they probably, they played 23 games? They still have games in hand,
They have 26 played.
Oh, wait, no.
They have the most games
Oh,
played.
no, it's 13. The 13th is the one with 23 games, right? Whoever it was.
13th is Villa. They have 24 games
Yeah,
played.
so I was thinking they have games in hand. So, yeah, Brentford, I really don't see it. I think Frank has proved he's a good enough manager to stay up, and I think that's a team that deserves to be playing, especially without Fernandez, who I think that's their goalkeeper's name, right?
Yeah.
Fernandez, their backup. He's really not that good. Without Ray, they've been a bit less solid defensively. But
definitely,
they're one of the few teams we've seen in the last few years that's come up and has looked to just play their own way. Definitely. Most teams that come up, they look to play counterattack. They look to sit back. They look to just let the opposition come onto them. And I think Brentford, we saw the very first game of the season against Arsenal, they won 2-0. They just attacked for 90 minutes, which is exciting. It's new, something we don't see a lot from promotion teams, especially when it's usually the same teams over and over again coming up and down.
This is very true. The one thing I'd say about Brentford is I see them staying up, but barely, because the teams below them have a couple games on hand on them.
Yeah.
Brentford have the most games played, 26. Right below them is Leeds, 1 point down and a game in hand. So I see, and we're going to talk about Leeds in a second.
Yeah.
But then there's Everton with 23 games. So that's 3 games in hand and 2 points down.
And
so
Burnley have got games in hand as well.
Burnley have 3 games in hand, and they're 4 points down. And they're in 18th. So I see a lot of those teams have a chance to escape. It's really less on Brentford. Brentford are kind of got to keep doing their thing. They got to stop conceding goals because they've got pretty bad record there. But I see them just scraping by.
Yeah. By the way, I just want to know, has Christian Eriksen played for them at all?
Not yet.
I know they signed him a month ago, but whatever.
You'll know the moment that he plays. It'll be everywhere.
Yeah. And also, the thing that's weird is Ivan Toney's been in and out of the squad recently with I think knocks and minor injuries, but he really never found his form.
Yeah.
I mean, last year he set the record for 32 goals, which obviously just somehow already got broken by Mitrovic.
Yeah.
14 games left, scoring 32 goals, which is 32 and 34, which is ridiculous. But Ivan Toney was outrageous in the championship season, and I think a lot of fans were very excited to see him in the Prem.
Mm-hmm.
And he just really hasn't found it. And the main concern for Brentford, if they're going to want to establish themselves as a Premier League team, is looking for that goal scorer.
No, definitely.
I don't even think there's one I can't say I know this is fact, but I don't think there's anyone on that team who has 5 goals or more.
Tony has 6.
Tony has 6.
He has
but
6 goals and 2 assists in
probably
21 games.
So 3 or 4 of them are pens. It's Canos has got a good few. They've got a lot of players with a few. I think they just need, if Tony can find a championship form, they've got their guy, but they just need to find that one player that's going to bring them the form they need.
Definitely. Right, and then moving on from Brentford, we have Leeds, who are in 15th. A game in hand on Brentford, 1 point down. I mean, obviously, we saw what happened to them the midweek.
Yeah.
That was lovely to watch. Got a feel for Bielsa and his squad, but, I mean, Leeds are such an inconsistent team to me. 1 week, they're giving Man United a serious game, and then literally the next game, they're getting battered by us 6-0. There's got to be some consistency for them to have a shot at scraping by. I also think they're going to.
Yeah. Bielsa, when he came with the championship, was praised as one of the best managers in the world. And when we beat them 5-1 early on in this season, I think that really opened my eyes to the fact that the Leeds style of play is, as exciting as it is, it's not fit for the Prem. I know we're just talking about how Brentford, we like how exciting they play, but Leeds, early on in the season, they looked to play with a single pivot. And although Calvin Phillips, especially coming off his Euros form, was a very, very good holding midfielder, you can't do it in the Prem. You have to have either an out-and-out world-class holding mid on his own, or you have to have a more solid defensive structure. And we ran them rampant in the Alpenmais to a lot of the flaws that Leeds had, because they were a very good side last year in the Prem.
Yeah.
But I think this year early on, it was clear that they weren't anything like they were last year.
I mean, a lot of it comes down to the intensity of Bielsa ball and then the lack of quality squad depth that Leeds have.
100%.
They've got a great starting 11, who know the game that their manager's asking them to play, and they've got the fitness for it. But something happens to them, and something is going to happen to them playing like that at 1,000 miles per hour all the time, constantly.
Yeah. Something's
going to happen, and you really need quality players to be able to step up, and they've been calling on youth players and random signings, and I don't know, that's where you see the gap between the championship and the Prem. You can get away with that at one level.
Bamford's been in and out. So, that front three, Bamford, Rafinha, and
Rodrigo.
That is a very good front three when healthy, but Bamford hasn't played in a while. Rafinha was in and out the squad for the last couple of months. He's been in and out.
Mm-hmm. They did pick up Dan James, which is, I don't know.
He fits the style of play.
He does.
It's just fast guy who will run around and press for 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't fit at United, but he's a good signing for Leeds, to be fair.
And they have Tyler Roberts, who's not awful.
He's decent.
He hasn't had much of an impact, but that's kind of where their depth ends up top.
Their midfield is just... whenever they lose Phillips...
They're hurting from that.
That hurts. And they've got, Forshaw and...
Jack Harrison. Clich.
Yeah, Clich. That's just really... I think they'll stay up, but I think it'll be a hard fight for the next couple of years if they don't fix the small... Because it's more minor, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's more of a clear fix than there is for Leeds and from other clubs, but if they can fix it, it's more like just squad depth, really. If they can fix that, then...
And I don't think it even has to be a breaking the bank kind of move. They've
definitely not.
They've got to spend properly, find some young talent who have who have the energy to fit the system. Which, I mean, if they can do, I see them being a staple in the Prem for the next many years. But that's a big if, right? And then moving on to 16th place. Not got much good to say about them. Got Everton.
Well, obviously you don't have much good to say about them.
23 games played, 22 points. They're barely surviving relegation right now, but they do have the 3 games in hand.
Yes.
Which is a huge boost. Assuming that they win just one of them, they're up to 14th place immediately. So, I mean, you have to say that Everton's going to stay up. They're not going to
I mean, they've been in the Prem, like, for so long. I mean, they're an established team. I think they'll overcome it eventually, but...
I mean, and then there's Frank.
Frank Lampard, I mean, new manager. He didn't do great at Chelsea. He didn't do awful at Chelsea. It's just Chelsea were in a situation where fighting for Europe wasn't good enough, and obviously it was clear that they're good enough to win the Champions League.
Definitely. Yeah, I like him I don't mind him as a manager, but then there's Everton's record in the league. In the last 5 games, they've won 1 and lost 4. The one they did win was against ever inconsistent Leeds. They beat them 3-0, but then they lost 2-1 to Norwich, 1-0 to Villa, 3-1 to Newcastle, and 2-0 to Southampton.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't beat Everton and losing to Norwich.
Yeah. They're not going to give us a week, but it's consistently getting beaten by teams that you need to be beating because you're now in a relegation race and they're right below you.
Mm.
And I mean, Dele Alli and Donny van de Beek, I'm sure will make some sort of an impact.
I like those signings.
Those are good signings, especially as a United fan. I like to, finally Donny's gone. He can go play. I felt bad for him for the, 2.5 years he played 5 minutes a week. I mean, that midfield, when it's healthy, I mean, you played Decore, Van de Beek, and Ali, and you've got Allen as well as an option. I mean, that's a very good midfield.
And Andre Gomes.
And they've got Gomes as well. And then when he's healthy, Calvert-Lewin is a very good striker. He's like he's a 15.
Him and Richarlison.
He's a 15-goal striker. Richarlison's like a 10-goal striker.
And then they have young Anthony Gordon, who's
been a decent youngster.
Yeah, he's been a bit of a revelation for them. And then Damari Gray, of course.
And then as well, we have to look at their defense. It's a bit weak. It's getting old, but they do have Godfrey.
They do.
They now have Mikolenko, which I think is a good signing, especially considering it was clear that Luca Digne didn't want to be there anymore, which was a good signing for Villa.
I mean, Yeremino's still in his prime, 27.
Yeah.
Not bad. And then he's got Mason Holgate, 25. He's a 50-50. Sometimes great, sometimes awful.
I don't really see Everton going down, to be honest.
I don't see them going down.
I think they
have too good of a team for anything but the Prem, but low end of the Prem.
Yeah. I mean, but if you told me they were going to be here in the beginning of the season, I probably wouldn't have believed you. I think they're probably looking to fight. Maybe even... I mean, they were in the fight for Europe at times last season.
They were.
I mean, I would have been more shocked if you told me they were going down there, if you told me they got Europa League. Because honestly, this is a team that looked more than capable of getting a top 6 finish, especially over the last couple of years. They've become a very strong squad. They had a very good manager.
They did.
Liverpool legend. I think he's still got Liverpool in his heart, clearly.
Definitely. We love him for it.
Moving on, another team that's had a bit of an interesting season so far.
Yeah.
We're going on to Newcastle now. The takeover it's clearly brought money to the club. They've made a lot of signings.
They have.
But it's clearly not worked on the pitch. Kieran Trippier's been pretty good. I mean, he got
he's been quite.
I like him. He got 2 goals in 3 games, both on free kicks. I mean, it's a good signing. I mean, they got Chris Wood as well, who's a decent Premier League striker. He's like a 10-15 goal striker. They have Callum Wilson, but he is very injury prone.
He is.
If they can keep St. Maximin as good as he can be, then there's no reason they shouldn't stay up.
I really like the look of what they're doing at Newcastle, but there's something about the team that's just not sticking together. Like, they had Joe Willock, who was insane last season.
And this season,
he's kind of disappeared. They've got young players, like Sean Longstaff in the team.
Oh, God, I hate the Longstaffs. As a United fan, they always performed against us last season and the season before, but yeah.
True.
They're good.
I mean, they've got depth at keeper. They've got Dubravka and Darlow. They've got always a decent defense. I mean, they've got Schär and Lascelles, Jamal Lewis, Target. I mean, and of course.
Yeah, and they signed Target as well. But when they lost with Callum Wilson, they lost in the beginning of the season, right? Lost injury.
They did.
And they didn't really have a striker because Joelinton apparently is a box-to-box midfielder like we saw against United. But they just when they lost Callum Wilson, they just didn't have a striker, and now they have Chris Wood, who is I think a very established Premier League striker. I mean, he did it for years for Burnley. I think he knows how to score.
He definitely does.
So that's a good signing for them. It's what they need.
And then I really love the Bruno Guimaraes signing. No, I'm not even gonna try to properly pronounce that, but
yeah, very good signing in my opinion.
Great signing. I think he has the potential to be insane, Prem level or anywhere in the world. But I don't know about Newcastle for a move at the point that he was in his career.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for Newcastle, but for him with a good shot at relegation.
And I mean, he was an established European team.
He was
a very good European team. I mean, Lyon were established, and that was a very good Lyon team. That was a Lyon team. I honestly think with the form that PSG in the season, they have the capability to fight against PSG again in Ligue 1.
Again, yeah.
But I mean, the move to Newcastle. I mean, I see it because a lot of players are. You saw like Trippier and
they're interested
as
in
well.
move, yeah.
They we don't know, but I honestly think Newcastle are going down. Like
I do too. I mean, I don't want to place the blame on Eddie, but with a squad like that and the funds that he has available, I don't know if he's the right manager for the project.
And like the thing is, you can't say he wasn't backed. They made so many. You could really argue really good signings.
Great signings, yeah. And for them to be sitting 17th with.
How many have they played?
22
So they've
points.
got games at hand over the teams.
They do, but not by a lot. Burnley have a game in hand on them. And their record, I mean, recently has been quite good. Gotta say, last 5 games, 2 draws, 3 wins. They've been doing the work that they need to do to stay up, but I don't know. I see it maybe faltering.
I do too, and you mentioned them briefly just now. Burnley. I see Newcastle going down because I see Burnley staying up. They do it. They do this every single year, pretty much. This season, it's a little bit worse than normal. I would usually say by this point, Burnley are usually around 15th, 16th, like just a few points clear. Right now, they're in relegation.
They're in 18th.
But I think Deitch has been doing this for too long. He knows what he's doing.
They've got the defensive record, do it. And I mean, talk about like their ability to go and take games to the biggest teams, like Spurs coming off a win against City, right? And then they go and beat them. That was
to keep a clean sheet against Harry Kane, who scored 2 goals against probably on paper the best defense in the league.
Definitely.
That's a statement. 100%.
Yeah, to keep him quiet like that. And they've shown that they can score too, like against Brighton 2 weeks ago. They put 3 past them, which I mean isn't really a lot, but with the signing of Weghorst, they're looking like they have some offense.
I love Weghorst. I saw what he could do against United. I mean, the goal that they scored against United was pretty much all. I mean, you could blame Maguire for it, but I mean, it was a credit to Weghorst's wonderful link-up play. I think he gives you what Chris Wood does times 3. I mean, he's so good for Wolfsburg. He's so big. He's so good at holding up. He's so good at controlling the play, get the ball back into a defender, and he knows that he's big enough that guy's not going to pop through him. He knows he can just hold on the ball and look to play, and that's exactly what Burnley need. You know, they're not a team that's going to go quickly play on the counter. They're a team that's going to look to hoof it forward and then play from there. And that's exactly what Weghorst does.
And I mean, I think he's a smart signing from Burnley because they know they're not going to have very long out of him. He's 29, he's getting close to his decline. I mean, I'd still say he's very much in his prime.
Oh, definitely.
He's getting close there. And they've brought him in to just kind of help them this season and next season while they build around the young core that they've been slowly, like, quietly working on. That's kind of changing the way that we think Burnley play. Like, the Dwight McNeil and the Max Cornet. Like,
I love Cornet. It's a great signing.
Those, like, younger, fast, skillful players, you know, where the game's more technical and less physical for them. I think, like, McNeil's been on Burnley for a couple of years, like, came through the academy, I think. But we've always just been like, oh, he's just like he stands out. He's like weird to see him on Burnley. But then they signed Cornet, and then you're like, oh, I see what they're doing with their team. They're trying to change their direction to be more suited to like the modern game, which I really like. And yeah, with Weghorst in and those two around them, I think they've got a great shot.
Yeah, I think they're really one signing away from this not being a problem anymore. I think as long as if they can get a good playmaking center mid, then I think that's probably the last signing they need for like them to not be in relegation for the next couple of years. Because their top assist right now was like Westwood and Cornet with like 3 assists each or something like that, which is just not good enough. They need
And that's
to
also not where your assist should be coming from.
Yeah, they need to get more playmaking from the middle instead of just hoping that Cornet and McNeil can do all the work down the wing.
Yeah. And they've been playing Cornet up top.
Yeah.
Which is because they play that 2-striker system where Weghorst holds it up and one of them runs in behind. And, I mean...
I think that's best fit for Rodriguez, to be honest.
Definitely.
But yeah, Cornet can really play any wide position.
Yeah, they've... I like the way that Burnley's looking. And, I mean, their defense has always been just so good.
Really good, especially with Tarkowski and me. And Nick Pope is a great goalie.
He's so underrated. Like, even though he's rated.
He's underrated. Yeah, I think there's an argument he's the best English keeper. Moving down,
I would argue that.
another team with an English keeper.
There.
The greatest English goalkeeper. The Cycling GK of Watford, who are currently in 19th. I would probably say they're going down.
Yeah, I have them absolutely going down. Burnley have 2 games in hand on them. They've played 25. They only have 18 points. Their defensive record's just been horrific. Only one team's been worse than them or 2 teams, I guess, which are Leeds and Norwich. And, I mean, Leeds score the goals to justify having that kind of defensive record. But Watford just don't. They've got 15 goals scored, 25 goals scored all year. And most of those coming from 2 guys, Emmanuel Dennis and Sarr. But
I think really until this year they lacked a proper striker.
Really, yeah.
Especially because Deeney was getting old and he couldn't do it anymore. And then the Emmanuel Dennis signing was really good. And Emmanuel Dennis, Ismail Assar, João Pedro, who's like, I think, 20. They had me really excited. I really saw Watford finishing around lower mid-table. I saw them finishing 13, 14 around that area. But I think that at times this season, their defensive solidity has really let them down. I thought Trista Kong was a good signing. He's a quality center back. But it's just their defense has let them down at times. And Emmanuel Dennis, I think, as well, for a little period of time was struggling with injuries. They had that little time, and then they didn't have another goal scorer to back him.
And, I mean, they've got this weird mix of, like, really young, really promising players and then just, like, pure age, right? Like, they picked up Josh King, who looks like a decent signing, but he's 30. They have Samuel Kalou, who's... Never mind. I mean, he's one of the younger players who kind of balances that out,
Yeah.
Then they've got, like... You go back to their defense, and they've got players like Kiko Femenia, who's 31.
Scored against United.
He did. You've got Kabasele, who's 31. You've got these older players. I mean, even Ekong. He's 29.
Older. Yeah, he's older.
Or 28. Right? And that's, like, in his prime, but they're not... You can see that they're not really building around the future. I mean, Danny Rose, they picked up 31.
That was a questionable signing. But to be fair, they really didn't left back.
That's true. I mean, Cathcart's 33 now.
Yeah,
like,
they're really starting.
You can see the age in this squad. Even Nkulu is 31, right? Like, it's their defense. It's old. It's not built for the Prem. Like, I mean, even our favorite player on the planet,
Yeah.
Cycling GK, he's 38.
Yeah.
Right?
He can only do it for so long. He's only got, 10 years left, probably? I mean, at his level, I reckon he could do a Buffon,
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them.
It's not like he's on a team that's as successful, he can just go out and, casually go, I'm going to not retire to win another Champions League. But, yeah, I think Watford are going down.
Absolutely, they're going down. And then that leads us to...
Another team that's going down.
Yeah.
Wow, who would have guessed? Norwich going down. Something that has never happened before. Norwich have been promoted, and then they're going straight down.
So shocking.
I don't really think there's any bright spots in that team that indicate to me that they're a Premier League level team.
Nothing.
I mean, there's really nothing. Tom Cantwell plays 3 games a year really well, then disappears. Timu Pukki scores 5 goals a season, and he scores 4 of them in 1 game.
I mean, then Josh Sargent,
Sargent scored those 2 goals.
He did against Watford.
Good promising youngster.
He had a
American
decent game
as well.
Yeah.
But
and then they're really...
And they have Max Aarons as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just not a Prem squad.
They're just really not. Too good for the Championship, too bad for the Prem.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's so funny how they went and got the 2 rejects from our 2 clubs, Kabak and Brandon Williams.
I mean, Brandon Williams is probably the best player this season.
Oh, he definitely is.
I mean, I know he has at least one Norwich Player of the Month. I saw that.
I'm sure he has. I mean, he did become Solid's legal child when we played him. But
I don't know what you're talking about.
But besides that, he's been a good player. I mean, 21 and starting for Norwich isn't bad.
Yeah,
I mean, besides the occasional child abuse that he has to suffer, like he looks like a decent player. And then of course there's Kabak, who didn't quite cut it for Liverpool, but I mean, I won't take anything away from him. He's a good player.
Yeah.
He's got a really, really rough game that he needs to polish up there, but I mean, Norwich have a decent future there.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, and then of course there's Billy Gilmore.
But I don't see United getting rid of Williams or Chelsea getting rid of Gilmore. I think Williams has to stay at United, especially with the way that our fullbacks have been recently.
That's true.
Playing Lindelof right back in the
he's definitely a long-term shot replacement.
Yeah, because Wan-Bissaka's dropped off. Delo is. I don't know if he's there yet, but he's also young. Telles is old, or getting older, and I don't think he has enough time. He's been in the Prem long enough to be a Prem left back, and Shaw is just Luke Shaw. So I think Brandon Williams is probably going to be that guy for United. I don't see him being a Norwich player after the season. Same with Gilmore.
Definitely.
I see Gilmore probably going into that midfield as Conte ages.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and then there's the signing that they made, Milo Rashica, but
I haven't seen a lot from him. I was really excited because that's a good sign. He looked
like a great player.
He was pretty good for Werder Bremen for the last couple years.
Very good, yeah. Linked with every top club, made the move to Norwich, which seemed like a good move for his career, but then I don't know, Norwich has just not performed. And then of course, Pukki.
Timo Pukki, who will always bag 25 plus in the championship, come to the Prem, score a couple goals in the first week, they'll look promising, and then disappear off the face of the earth for the next 6 months of the season.
Just about sums up his entire career, yeah.
Yeah, he's old as well, so.
Yeah, 31. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Norwich, let's go to match week predictions. They play the first game against Southampton.
We're going to have to go fast here.
They play against Southampton first game this week. I don't really see them getting much. I think Southampton will be very good. I just think it's going to be bad. I'm going to go 3-0.
I'm going to say 2-1 Southampton, because I think Norwich have it in them to sneak past that slightly
shaky
looking.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah. Right, okay, then we have Leeds Spurs. This is a hard one to call, because both teams are so up and down.
I mean, I think Spurs will edge it here. I'm going to go.
I think it's going to be close.
I'm going to 2-0.
I was going to say 3-2 Spurs. Because I see Leeds scoring, because a Spurs team that concedes so much that they...
2-1. I think Rafinha will get one.
Yeah. I do see Spurs edging ahead, because Leeds haven't looked so great. Then we have Brentford, Newcastle. That's a funny one to predict. I'm gonna throw a Newcastle win in there. I think they've been on a great run of form. It might be temporary, but I think it's gonna carry over to Brentford and their shaky defense.
I'm going to Newcastle 1-0. I mean, I haven't seen a lot from Brentford recently. I think they've really dropped off without David Raya. So I'll go 1-0 to a Chris Wood goal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Right, then we have Villa Brighton. That's a tough one to call.
Those are two very good teams. These are exciting teams, really.
Both are very similar in they score goals. They also have not a horrible defense. I mean, of course, I love Phil Coutinho and I love Stevie G, so I'm always going to want to back Villa here, but I'm going to say 1-1.
I'm going to go 0-0. I just think it's going to be...
You don't think no one's
I
gonna
think
score?
it's going to be a good defensive matchup. I think even with Coutinho, I think Villa have still lacked... the last couple games, I think Villa haven't scored a lot.
They haven't scored any in their last two.
Yeah,
and then they had that 3-3 tie against.
Yeah,
Leeds.
I'm gonna go 0-0 because Brighton have been a very solid defensive team, but when faced against good defenses, Brighton do just tend to struggle, Villa do have a decent enough defense to hold off Brighton.
Speaking of good defenses, we've got Burnley, Crystal Palace.
I love Crystal Palace. I think everyone loves Crystal Palace. They've got so many youngsters in that team.
I have to give it to them. I don't think it can go anywhere else. Crystal Palace they've looked really good recently.
I'm going to go 2-1 Burnley. I think Burnley are just going to... I think they're going to pop up now. That win against Spurs is going to give them some real push to go on and get out of relegation and hopefully get past Newcastle or Everton.
Point. I don't think the Palace defense can handle Weghorst.
They've not got... That's not a very good defense.
No, and they're missing a couple big names, I want to say. Whoever they're...
I don't know, Zaha's got one or two last game. Olise's been good. Edouard, if he plays, can be really good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna switch my prediction then. I'm gonna go 1-1.
I'm gonna go way out. I'll still go 1-0. I'm gonna go Weghorst or whatever other striker there is.
Right, then we have United Watford.
Oh god, so really, because I mentioned earlier, Feminina scored against last time. That was like his first ever Premier League goal.
I mean,
I think his first ever Watford goal in like 3 years. I mean, this is embarrassing. I mean, I'm a United fan playing Watford, and I'm not just going out here immediately saying we're gonna win. It's gonna be our game. 4-0.
4-0.
4-0 United. We're gonna someone's gonna click.
I think it's gonna be 2-1 United. I think Harry Maguire's gonna do what he does best and concede a goal.
I think we're gonna keep a clean sheet for once. I think Rhythm is a dancer. Anthony Elanga.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hope he starts over Rashford. I think that'll be our game with 3 or 4.
He starts over Ronnie.
3 or 4-0.
Yeah. I don't know about 3 or 4-0, but I'm gonna say 2-1. I'm gonna agree with you that United are gonna win. All right, now we have probably the easiest game to call this match week. We've got City Everton. I mean, City's gonna.
They
win.
just absolutely dispatched of a team in the Champions League
They
knockout
did.
stage. I'll go 4-0.
I'm gonna make it a closer game because Everton have in the past gotten one over City, recent past.
That's true.
So I'm gonna say 2-0.
I'm a 4.
Yeah.
I just think that game against Sporting was just
stupid.
4-0 at half is just ridiculous.
All right, then we have Leicester City. Chelsea got postponed because of the Carabao Cup final.
Yeah.
So the next game is West Ham Wolves.
That's a good game actually.
It is 6 versus 7.
I really like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Wolves, I think, have been probably the most underrated defensive team this season.
Absolutely, they've
Obviously they do play.
done so
They
well.
do play back 5, which
Still.
Bruno Lage, who is praised for being a very attacking manager, who pushes his wing backs really high up the pitch, and so we thought we were going to see from Semedo. But I think he's done so good defensively with that team. I think
He has.
Jose Sa has been very good in goal this season. Probably the second best keeper in the Prem, behind
Possibly.
David De Gea.
Wouldn't put David up there, but yeah. Right, and then predictions.
I don't think.
I think West Ham are gonna score. I'm gonna say 1-1, but
I'm gonna go 1-0 Wolves.
really,
I'm gonna go 1-0 Wolves.
I was gonna say it's either 1-1 or 1-0 West Ham.
Yeah, I'll go 1-0
Because
Wolves.
we saw how Wolves' defense wavered this week against Arsenal.
It's Arsenal. Though. Arsenal been really good recently.
That's true. Well, that brings us to our last prediction. To end off the episode, we've got Arsenal Liverpool.
I think a lot of it depends on how Arsenal line up, because they changed their midfield so much. I don't know why they start Martinelli sometimes. He had a good run, but I think there's no way that you could not start Smith Rowe, Odegaard, and Saka in that midfield 3, based on what we've seen from them.
Yeah.
But even then, if those 3 start, I don't see them doing a whole lot to bolster Liverpool's defense more often than Salah and Mane get through theirs.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 3-1.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
I think... Was Diaz score a goal in the...
He has.
Yeah, I was just... Yeah. Was it an away game? Was it a home game? Is this a home game?
I believe it was a home game.
Is this... Can he score his first
This
something?
is an away game.
So his first away game, his first away goal in the Prem?
Yeah.
I reckon Luis Diaz is going to get 2 goals.
2?
2.
I would
Mo
love to see that.
Salah's going to score a pen, because... As we saw against Leeds, Salah is a pen merchant.
Definitely.
He's going to score a pen early on.
The man who would still be top scorer
Then,
in our league without all his pens.
Smith Rowe's going to equalize right before halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, Luis Diaz is going to come out.
I reckon we have a slow start. I reckon Arsenal scores first.
He's
That's
going to get a
generally how
goal
it
around 70, 80th minute. Last minute, Arsenal are going to be sending everyone up the pitch down 2-1. Luis Diaz is going to get a one-on-one. And Ramsdale, in his dramatic fashion, is going to try and make an absolute worldie of a save. And Diaz is going to slot it home 3-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that happening.
So, yeah, thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and have a good one.